Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing the modification to my Vioteck Spectre VR goggles. They are a one button goggle, same as the Cockpitglasses version 2. I talked about these in another review, and I've talked about them a lot on the Facebook Anafi groups, that they are the exact same goggles as the Cockpitglasses version 2, with the exception of they don't say Parrot, they say Spectre, and that they're blue instead of black. Otherwise, they're the exact same goggle. Anyway, they come with the one button on the top, but everyone that's seen the Cockpitglasses version 3 have a button on the top and a button on the bottom. The button on the top is to access the menus, the flying menus in flight, and the button on the bottom switches you between viewing through the drone and viewing through the goggles. So if you want to go back and forth. So if you have the Cockpitglasses version 1, there was no buttons, so you won't be able to do either of those features. If you have the Cockpitglasses version 2, straight out of the box with those, or the Vioteck Spectres, or the Reassembly VR Go's, or a lot of those other generic ones people are getting on eBay that have the one button on the top, you can access the flight menus. So you can switch between sport and cinematic. The only thing you can't do is switch your view between the Anafi and the goggles. I wanted to have that option, so I went ahead and purchased several of these Vioteck Spectres. I got these for $4.99, shipping included on eBay. So $5. I had them within 2 or 3 days. I bought 4 of them, just so I had, in case I screwed one up in this process, and just also so I have an extra one when it's done that's untouched, same as it came in the box. So I'm going to be basically taking parts from 2 of these and putting them into one. I just wanted to do a real quick, show you exactly what I'm going to be using today so everyone knows. X-Acto knives, specifically with a nice flat scraper tool. I'm going to be using this to pull the foam back on the goggles so I can get to the screws to remove the faceplate. Obviously, jeweler screwdriver. They have a really teeny Phillips head screws in these, so screwdriver, and for me as well, helping grip. Forceps are always nice. Cardboard. You'll see later I'm going to be using these to make kind of a jig that's going to determine how I cut the 2 pieces of the goggle face in half to put them back together. You'll see how this comes together later in the video. Hot glue. I am going to be removing one of the main screw mounts and relocating it, so I'm just going to use hot glue to relocate the post. You'll see that later in the video. And duct tape. You'll see why at the end of the video. We'll leave that to be a surprise. The only thing I'm not showing you here is my Dremel. It's out on my workbench in my garage. I don't feel I need to show you that. Everyone knows what a Dremel is. It's a grinding tool. I'm going to be using a Dremel to cut one of the screw mount posts and to be cutting the hole in the bottom of the goggles for the second button. I don't think I really need to show you that. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so to remove the faceplate, what you're going to need to do is there are 6 screws around here and they're under the foam. So what I did to locate them is I stuck my finger under here, found where the posts are. Then I took an X-Acto knife with a flat blade and I started from the edges and I just peeled the foam up to show the screws. So now I'm going to remove the faceplate. Okay, so I've removed the 6 screws and the faceplate is now off. If you flip it over, you can see the mechanics for the button with the toggle right there. And you can see inside the goggle here, that's your mounting posts right there and there. Now you can see the button where it's located here, so when we do this it's going to be on the opposite side down here, and that post is going to be in the way. So I'm going to have to remove that post and then cut the hole for the button to fit on the bottom side here. Now I will say this, when you are going to be doing the Dremel work down here and here, you want to protect the lenses. So I would recommend taking some cardboard or tape or something and covering up those lenses so you don't get any flying debris scratching up the lenses. So like I said, you will need to remove this faceplate on both goggles, so you will do this step twice. Okay, so this step's going to be done twice because you got two faceplates. I made this little jig that squared off the faceplate, and then I just took a straight edge, went corner to corner, took a Sharpie, and just drew the line so I know where I'm going to divide this in half. Now, I found just from looking at this that cutting this diagonally was the best bet because you get the most amount of screw holes for support, because this is no longer going to be a solid piece, it's going to be divided, and that's a nice place to cut it without interfering with the button or the mechanics whatsoever. If you go down the middle, you're going to be running into both buttons. If you go straight top to bottom, you're not going to have the screw holes on either side to support it when you screw it back in. So that's why I chose to go with the diagonal cut. So we have the two screws here, the two screws here, and each screw here will all still be used. So you'll still have 6 point of contacts even though you're going to have two divided pieces, and hopefully that'll retain the stability. So like I said, you're going to take both faceplates in here, you're going to put them both button facing the same way, you're going to draw the line exactly the same, and then you're going to take these in half. Now, I'm going to be dremeling the hole in the goggles, but for these, the plastic is rather thin. It's not that thick, so I'm actually going to be using some utility kitchen shears. So I'm going to do this step twice and go from there. Okay, so now I've cut the pieces in half. You got the one side that doesn't have the button and the other side that does. At this point, you can throw away the side that doesn't have the button. You're not going to use it. You're going to take the top half from both faceplates, and they're going to be one on the top and one on the bottom. So that'll be your top and bottom buttons. So the next step is going to be taking the goggle frame outside and removing that post and cutting the hole for the button so it will seat in there and be able to push through without getting stuck or anything. Alright, so where we're at right now, I've obviously got the hole ground out so the button will fit in there. I use my Dremel to cut that hole. Now when you cut that hole, there is a post for when you screw this base on that the screws go into, that is right where that hole needs to be. It looks just like these posts right here. So I cut that post off, but that leaves this part right here a little loose and wobbly. So when you're pushing the button, it's not very stable. So what I did was I screwed the post to this piece right here so it was just connected. I went ahead and mounted it, screwed those two in so that post was loose in here, trying to get some better light. And then I took a bunch of hot glue like epoxy and just covered the whole thing to secure it to the outer frame to give it more stability. So when you push the button now, this whole piece right here isn't going to jiggle all over the place. So I'm trying to do this one-handed. So now if you push the button, you can see the toggle is coming through and it will touch the screen. So, and there's the button right there. So I will continue on with the project. Okay, so we have reinstalled both faceplates. We have the original one for the top here with the button. You can see the toggle comes out. And I'm going to flip this upside down just for lighting. And we took the other top piece. We mounted it on the bottom and put the button in there so you can see that the toggle moves. So hopefully that got it. I'm going to go ahead and hook my phone in here and test it out. Okay, so I got the straps back on. The faceplate is in here. So we're at the point now, we're in FPV mode. We're going to go ahead and close this up. So we're going to line it up and clasp it down. Now, one thing I've discovered now that I've gotten done with this is that this snap right here, and it's probably because there's not, the two faceplates are separate pieces now, it's not very secure. I had it 1 minute, I went to put the goggles on and it popped right open. So even with, this is jerry-rigged, it's not perfect. The bottom button we're going to test out here in a minute, but I am going to take a piece of duct tape and just secure this to make sure that it doesn't pop open. So I'll look like the nerd that has the tape between his glasses on the nose bridge. So let me get that hooked up and we'll test the buttons out. Okay, so I got my handy dandy duct tape, making sure the phone doesn't fall out. And now we're going to test out the top button. And voila! It works for bringing up the menu. Alright, so for the second step, to test the second button, as we all know, the bottom button is what's going to switch the view between the Anafi and the goggles. So I got to go get my Sky Controller 3 and my Anafi and turn it on, so you'll be able to see the video feed difference between the Anafi and the goggles. So stand by. Alright, so I got my Anafi booted up. I got my goggles with the phones in it. Got it hooked up to my Sky Controller 3. I got this powered up. I've got the camera pointing at the painting there on my wall. And then I'm going to be have the goggles looking at the drone, so you'll be able to see if this works, the difference of views between the two. Shout out to Christopher Richard Smith. If you notice all the decals here, these are from his website, the High Pro Glow. I was having a really bad problem with swallows attacking my drone in flight. They actually chipped a couple props. I threw a prop in flight. I bought these reflective kits from him, put them on my drone. I've had some birds come up and be interested, but I've not had a single bird attack actually striking the drone since I got him. So if you're having that issue, check him out. He's on Facebook on the Bebop and the Anafi groups, and he'll hook you up with some stickers for a decent price. They're not free. So anyway, without further ado, alright, so see how well I can do this. Alright. So that is, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. We're going to try this. This is viewing through the Anafi at the painting on the wall. And then I hit the bottom button, and this is goggle view. So it works. So if you tap the bottom button, it switches between the camera view, looking at the painting on my wall, and the goggle view, which when I say goggle view, it means that it's activating the camera on your phone and using that so you can have a virtual see-through of your goggles. So as you can see, the modification I did works. The bottom button is tapping the screen on the bottom of the screen just fine, and I'm happy. The only thing I wish was a little better was that this clasp on top was more secure, so I didn't have to use duct tape to hold it on. I may play with that down the road, maybe affix some Velcro. That's probably what I'll end up doing, is getting a nice Velcro tab and put that on there so I don't look like an idiot with duct tape. But anyway, it worked! Yay! So let me shut that down real quick. So again, I mean, like I said, I got the duct tape on there, but so at the end of the day, you're gonna keep the top button that the goggles had, the VRGOs, or had, not the VRGOs. These are the Vioteck Spectres, sorry. You're just basically taking one of these buttons off another pair of goggles and mounting it down there. So, yes, I had to scrap a pair of goggles, but like I said, these cost me $5 each. So for $10, and what took me about an hour, 2 hours, you can modify it and have the 2-button system. So you can take full advantage of all the FPV features of your Anafi. So, if you want to leave a comment, go ahead. You can also comment on Facebook. I'm on the Anafi groups and the Bebop groups. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Facebook, and I will be happy to answer them. Thanks.